So, we are doing a series called Under Pressure, and we're focusing on mental health. And over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be looking at different ways the responsibilities of life can burden us. And so today I'm here with Jill Lee-Barber, who I call our resident psychologist, to answer a few questions. For the first week, our sermon title is called Caring for Others. And there are some questions I want to ask you in regards to this sermon title and how we can do that best. So the first question I want to ask you, Jill, what does it mean to care for others and why is it so important?
Well, it's caring for others is a kind of a simple thing and a complex thing. It can be as simple as saying to somebody, "Hey, are you okay?" And then actually pausing to hear the real answer,
Mm.
not just the right answer of, "Oh, yeah, I'm fine." Really asking and then following up. The following up and figuring out also how to care for ourselves is also more of the complex part. But I will say this psychological research shows us that people who are involved with helping others actually have a stronger immune system functioning and are overall physically healthier and mentally healthier than people who score in the self focused range.
Mm.
Now, I know my grandmother could have told us that. She used to say to us, if you're feeling sorry for yourself or you're feeling bad, get up and go see who needs you. Get up and go see how the Lord can use you. And she told us that, and the Bible tells us that. So I love it when research and my grandmother and the Bible all come together and say the same thing. So another thing I guess would like to share with you about this is in you probably studied this in your doctoral studies, but healthy adult development. One of the theorists that talks about that is Eric
Mm.
Erickson. You remember him, I know. And in healthy adult development, one of the later stages is something called generativity versus stagnation. I don't want to be stagnant. I want to be generative and contributing. And what that means, the generative word comes from generation. And it's about contributing, using your life force to contribute to the next generations, and those around you. And so the studies have shown that for healthy adults, actually making those contributions keeps us from being stagnant.
The other question I want to ask you is how does caring for others build a more just society?
Well, I'm going to say, first off, we know for sure that not caring for others, that being willing to exploit people for personal gain, we know that for sure creates an unjust, hurtful, mean old world and not the kind of world that we want. I think to counter that healthily, we can choose to bring loving kindness and the heart of our God to the hurting places we encounter every day. I want to quote the writer of Black Liturgies, Cole Arthur Riley. I love this that she says, so I'm just going to borrow it. To be human in an aching world is to know our dignity and to become people who safeguard the dignity of everyone and everything around us. So, again, it comes to that simple question, are you okay? Asking that of everyone and being willing to respond to the answer. And I know that with God's help, we can do that.
I know that there are so many of us who are caring for elderly parents or spouses who are sick or even children. How can caregiving impact caregivers?
Oh gosh, this is a real challenge. And this is part of the complexity of the dance I mentioned earlier. There is great value in contributing and taking care of your elders or your children or spouse. Um, and it can also become really heavy. What we know is that we can't pour from an empty cup. And even though we know that intellectually, so many of us who are caregivers forget it and we try to do things alone. We can really forget the part of the scripture that says to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Long term caregiver stress can contribute to physical health
Mm.
problems, mental health problems. Numerous studies have shown that people that are caregivers have higher rates of things like diabetes or depression, anxiety, even cancer. And so it's very important, I think, for those of us who are doing the caregiving to pay attention to ourselves as well. There's a lot of stress, and stress happens when you're questioning whether your resources are enough to meet the demands of the situation. And that's a lot in a caregiving situation. I think loneliness and isolation are the biggest threats too with caregiving.
Yeah. And the last question I'll ask you is, how can we ask for help?
Whew, that's a hard one. Um, it's more important, I think, to remember that, yeah, we're called to respond to suffering, but we're not called to do everything alone. And people in the congregation that know me will know that this is one of my own struggles. Asking for help is hard. Um, we can ask for help and we can say yes when our friends say, "Can I help you? What can I do?" But it's hard. Pride or ego or individualism, maybe fearing that we don't deserve the help,
Mm.
lots of kinds of stinking thinking get in the way of preventing us from asking for what we truly need to keep going. Receiving is an act of humility. I think it says, like, I really need you to get done what God would have me do. Um, I admit that this is an area of personal challenge for me. I don't have it all figured out. Even as a professional psychologist, I don't have it all figured out. And I give thanks to all those in this congregation, my St. Mark family, that have showed up and stuck by me and my family through a lot of the things we've gone through with your prayers and your visits and your laughs. That's meant the world to me, and I know that we have each other's backs here at St. Mark, and we can do hard things together.
And that's the journey we're going to continue to walk, St. Mark, because we are not called to do this alone. Thank you.